in partnership with CommSec.
Joining us from CommSec is Tom Piotrowski. Good morning to you, Tom. So we've seen, just looking at the Russell 2000, that seems to be peaking into all-time high territory. Does that mean that the ASX is going to open higher this morning?
Well, the ASX will open higher by 0.5% today, Kenny. A contrast to yesterday's decline of 0.8%. It's not necessarily because of the Russell alone, but what's interesting to that point is that the Russell 2000 is a measure of the way that smaller organisations are performing in terms of their share price. That hit a new record high last night, along with the Nasdaq, the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. And that very rarely happens. And that, as much as anything else, is a reflection of the way that the market has embraced the latest interest rate decision from the US Federal Reserve. So a day ago, there were some qualms about the fact that the pathway for rate cuts next year wasn't aligned with the market's expectations. There's two missing in the picture from the Fed. The market thinks there'll be an extra 2 rate cuts next year. That's not unusual to see that exuberance on the part of the markets. But importantly, a day later, the markets were just happy to celebrate the fact that there'll be another 2 rate cuts between now and the end of the year in terms of the thinking. So that's what propelled these markets higher. The S&P 500 rose by 0.5%. The Nasdaq was up by a little less than 0.9%. The Dow Jones was up by 1/3%. But other indices like the Philadelphia Stock Index, the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, Kenny, which measures chip makers' performance, that was up by 3.6%, helped by a 22% gain in Intel shares. So this is because Nvidia will make a $5 billion investment in the organisation. So this is interesting from the vantage point that the US government recently took a 5% stake in the organisation, or took a 10% stake rather, that has increased by $5 billion in value. So an interesting little footnote to things there. As I said, the futures are pointing to a gain of 0.5% for the local share market today. We have seen gold prices moderate a little bit from their record high in the last day, down by 1/3%. Oil prices easier by 0.6%. And the Aussie dollar, having been in the neighbourhood of 67 US cents in the last couple of days, has pulled back to 66.12 US cents.
Okay, Tom, thanks so much.